Matthew Rowell says this loss sucks. Try to remember that it was a good year. The future is bright. Just a little concerned about Harbaugh's bowl record. Always go blue. I agree with half. But I also can't. We can't. For me, I can't just move past the loss happened and just move past it
but
and
it's
just
a
be like,
time and
all right,
place
well,
for it.
it just is what it is.
No, it's a time
My
and place
my
for it.
thing is, hold on, I'll
Go ahead. Go ahead.
give me 1 second and I'll let you go. Is because to me, this is one of Jim Harbaugh's worst coaching performances. And let's just say, even in his time in Michigan, and really, we can even look in the last 2 years of when he's been on this historic rise. Right, this has been. I mean, and I don't know what the spread was on this game, but I'm 99% sure it was double figures. As far as the spread on this game of what Michigan was favored by, and to be quite frank, like let's just look at the first time that you had the ball in the red zone. That fourth down play call was atrocious because once the timeout was called and then Michigan came back out, what I told, and I'm here watching the game with some friends, and what I told them was, yeah, you got to go for it. You're on the 2-yard line. Even if you don't get it and you just run it up the middle for 1 yard, say you don't get it, whatever. Like the other team's got to go 99 yards to score. Like that's fine. You're almost guaranteed to get a punt and get the ball back and end up scoring a touchdown. But you do the reverse and all that stuff. It just, you know what I mean? Like it changes so much. Like it's so different from, all right, we gained a yard, almost got it.
It's
All
almost
right,
like they
now
had
your
too much
offense has
time.
got to come out. It was a mess. It was
Yeah.
just such a mess. Like it's just like it's frustrating because Michigan had a great opportunity to come out and just assert their dominance. And after the first play, it looked like you were well on your way. And then it just all of us just the wheels fell off. I almost don't understand it.
It's one of those things where, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just too much time for them. Maybe they, it felt like all that extra time made them over game plan and get too cute, as opposed to, this is what we do week to week, and like it or not, born or not, you're going to get it. So I don't know what it was. Do I w- Once I think about what could have played a factor in terms of how, this has something to do with TCU, by the way. I'm talking about
Here,
Michigan being uncharacteristic, maybe, but I
one
can't talk about it
quick
right now.
thing I'll say. I'm sorry. I'm super sorry to cut you off. One thing I will say: you never get to the mountaintop without having this type of layoff. I'm sorry, you just don't.
Yeah.
Because guess what? TCU had it. Ohio State had it. Georgia had it. Everybody has it. So
Yeah.
you don't get to not have it and think you're gonna get to the top. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like that's so frustrating to me. It's
Right.
so frustrating. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and I get it. And mind you, what I was saying is I wasn't your
I
whole all
know.
your
I know.
right,
Go.
all your opponents to deal with it. I'm just talking about for Michigan and this uncharacteristic performances they're putting up in these bowl games, especially back to back years, especially now. That team we saw today, and I'm just purely speaking on Michigan and the, their character today and the things they displayed was against what we have seen all year, all year. And I'm like, man, like and if they're lucky enough and fortunate enough to get back into this opportunity next year, uh, maybe they have to really reevaluate how they're utilizing this off time. And are they doing the right things? Because now this is back to back years, and mind you, this year was to me worse than last year because for one, you were definitely the better team on paper, and you beat yourselves time and time again.
Yes.
So it's like this year is worse than last year to me. And you were a better team this year. So I mean, it's incredibly, incredibly uh, damning from So from multiple standpoints, and by all means, there will be a time and place where it probably on Wednesday show, guys, once things kind of die down a little bit, where myself and Des, I'll give some kind of perspective on the season. No, I mean, and multiple things can be true. You can be appreciative and say, you know what, the guys had a really good year. You won a Big Ten, and all those things, made it to the CFP, and also you laid an egg. You fell flat on your face. Both things can be true. It is your sting because it's a blown opportunity. It might be one of your better opportunities, not only just to win a playoff game, but maybe to win a
Bro,
national
to
title.
get to the net, I
It,
just
it's it sucks. It sucks. I mean, it's hard.
like
You
Dre, like
yeah,
look at the anguish that I'm I'm going through,
it
and
sucks. I mean,
you
it's
know me, I'm
yeah,
not a Michigan fan.
it
Like,
sucks, dude. It
you know what I mean?
sucks.
Like the fact that they were right there. Listen, I'm not a Michigan fan. I'm an Alabama fan. It's been we've talked about it plenty of times on this channel. But I live in Michigan. I have a lot of friends who are Michigan fans. And it
You
just
know,
to me, like to have that opportunity in front of you, like we can have an argument about Michigan having the easier route to the national championship. We can argue about it. You could say, well, I think TCU's better. I think Ohio State's better, whatever. But there is an argument to be made that you have the easier route to the national championship. And to be quite frank, let's say it. Michigan blew that. I don't think anyone would look at that game and say, man, TCU really beat Michigan. They really took it to them, blah, blah, blah. TCU was opportunistic, pretty similar to what they've been all year. And we had a conversation on Wednesday, and all that I said was I sincerely hope that Michigan doesn't just roll out of bed and think that they're going to beat TCU. And I'm not sure that happened to where they just, showed up and thought they would win. I thought there was some situational opportunities that came up that Michigan just did not do a good job play calling. They didn't do a good job executing. But it didn't seem like the same Michigan team that was locked in, focused all season. It did it. I mean,
well,
we can
you
have
got
that debate, but I can't say that I've seen the same Michigan team for the last 13 games that I saw today. Those were not the same teams that I
no.
that I saw.
It was a totally different team, in my opinion. A totally different team. And I'll tell you this. Um, one of the things that really stick out to me is basically TCU. We played TCU's game. All
Mhm.
year, Michigan has dictated terms of how the game's going to go. It's going to be mostly ugly. They're going to control TOP, right? They're going to dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and they're going to squeeze you and squeeze you and squeeze you to eventually they break you. That is the formula for Michigan, both offensively and defensively, right? No matter what you do well offensively in the first half, they break it down, they get the players' feedback, coaches give their feedback, and they have a solidified game plan in the second half. Offensively, they pretty much are the same first half terms of approach as they are in the second half, but that offensive line, that running game just eventually wears you down. They're timing with their passing game when they need to do it, and they just break you, right? But today, they played right due to their self-inflicted mistakes and some things that TCU did well. They This game turned into a Big 12 football game. It turns of high tempo, scoring, and it totally was in TCU's hands. Michigan never was able to take this game and make it their game. Make no mistake about it. And this is part of the reason why a lot of people never thought TCU had a chance. It's because Michigan, probably better than any team in the country, it is the best at taking the game and making the other team play their game, right? Like I don't care if you try to speed us up. You're going to get this death by 1,000 cuts in terms of us running the football down your throat. But then defensively, we're not going to give it the big time play, and we're going to force you to make a mistake here and there. Like, that's just what they do. They've done it so well. But today, it was TCU. TCU dictated terms, right? Because even when Michigan's offense started to pick things up, and they started to really kind of gas TCU as well with some chunk plays here and there. Uh, our defense just had no chance. So TCU had the up tempo offense, and then now we're getting Quentin Johnson wide open. You get him matched up with a safety that he is significantly bigger than. I mean, it was incredible. Kadesh, you said it during on Wednesday's show. Like the one guy that you couldn't have beat you was Quentin Johnson. We had a
Yep.
monster game today, over and over
And
and
that
over again.
freaking that corner blitz. Listen,
I don't understand
I
that. That was the
I
worst I've ever seen.
watch Nick Saban's defense a lot. He loves cat blitzes, which is a corner blitz. He loves it. He will run it multiple times during the game, and I'm good with it. But when you have that call on, number one, everybody from the defense has to be aware of it, and the safety's got to get over the top. I mean, literally, Quentin Johnson, the ball was snapped. He jogged
He
towards the
could have,
sideline,
bro. He could have
jogged up
paused.
the sideline, and then Max Duggan then threw the ball. He caught like it. There was no urgency from the safety getting down. Dre,
It was so bizarre.
everything defensively was just a mess. You had that. You had a zero blitz to where, and I think it was Johnson. Same thing too. Ran just a shallow cross. He caught the ball 3 to 4 yards behind the yard to go, and because no one else was there, catches it and just turns up and runs. And I'm like, what? It just the blitz. I just all I can say is Michigan coaching staff seem to be just overmatched. It just didn't. It
Yeah,
didn't get like to have that happen. Like because a zero blitz. Like I mean, Dre, how many times have we seen that in the second half of a Jesse Minter defense? Like I would venture out to say none. I would venture out to say we have not seen that happen for a Jesse Minter defense in the second in the second half. And that happened today in a critical time. And just on all of the Michigan mistakes seem to just happen at critical times.
yeah.
And
Anytime
the
Michigan was
mistakes
good.
happened when you couldn't have the mistakes.
Right. Anytime Michigan was gaining some momentum back, right? Big time touchdown, they're starting to gain some traction, especially in that fourth quarter. The time and time again, they allowed TCU not just to respond, but to respond quickly and explosive, where that essentially emotionally, it just took everything that you just gained. Like the Quentin Johnson drag route to turn to a touchdown is inexcusable. It's just like, it's one of those games, man, where it's like it's just a total failure, top down, top down. Um, it's just I can't like it's not like it's weird because yeah, you never want to discredit your opponent when they beat you, right? Look, TCU play spirited, they're clearly talented, they're tougher than I gave them credit for. Um, but at the end of the day, man, like from coaching to players, that they really dropped the ball today. They really did, and that stings. I would venture to guess. I could definitely, as a fan, I can say this, but I would venture to guess in that locker room that this game stings way more than last year, because
Absolutely.
because
And
like
if I
yeah,
was a senior, especially in this locker room today, I would be in tears because I forget about the coaching. I, as a senior, blew an opportunity to get to the national championship. I
yep,
did that, and that
yep,
and that that would be the way I approached it. Was
yep.
I had a chance to get to the national championship and I blew it. Like that is what I would look at. Um, LFG says, you guys are so young. 70s Big Ten teams lost numerous Rose Bowls, just like what happened today. Long layoffs hurt boring running teams more. Surprise.
Yeah, well,
Whatever.
I
I
mean,
don't.
I don't really go to the whole age thing, but no, I mean, it's not an excuse. Just because we
Serious?
agree,
Are you serious right
just because we agree with kind of long layoff hurt. I mean, it's clear that there's the layoff. I think play stating that the layoff plays a factor possibly because you see you see a sample size that there's a correlation is not the same thing as making an excuse. I do agree that I believe there's some credence to that. but it doesn't excuse the final product. Like guys have to figure out if you coaching staff and and players have to figure out a way to stay sharp and do what they have to do. Your team like Michigan, yeah, you like to run the football, you have to be physical for you to maintain that same mentality. Maybe you can't, maybe you have to stay physical, but you can't change your practice style during that layoff, right? Maybe you have to stay with the same routine. If that means some guys get banged up along the way, so be it, because that's what you do week to week, and that's just what then that's what it takes. But that falls on the coach staff to figure out what this is our team's identity, and we have to keep the same approach week to week, no matter when our game is, because it's vital to our routine and our rhythm. So yeah, it may be true that that played a factor, but that means I put that on the feet of Jim Harbaugh. He's the CEO of this program, and he didn't have his team ready to play. They did not have this team ready to play today. Point blank.